Hey there, I'm Drew Badger, the world's #1 English fluency guide and the co-founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and I wanted to make a new video series. Yay! I'm always trying different and new things, but this one is not specifically for English learners. This is for anyone who's also interested in doing what I do, and that's helping people learn and educate people in whatever that field happens to be. Now I'm going to talk, in this series it'll be kind of dependent on what people are interested in, maybe specific questions they have, and I've come back to talking about business English and talking about that, and people are kind of talking about information marketing and how you can help educate people by creating good content. But I wanted to do, I don't know, maybe something a little bit different, just talking about why education is such an important thing, and it's a great thing for business. It doesn't really matter what you do, as I'll explain in this video, but this series, how often I produce this, will really depend on what people are interested in. So if people really like the series a lot and are really, learning some new things, especially English learners, if you're watching this, there'll be a few business terms, other things like that that'll be related to business, but this isn't necessarily a business English course. This is more the business of teaching and how you can do what I do, or learn more about the importance of education and why it's such a great thing for the world we live in now. So just to talk about that, let's just say we're going to take an example of something like a laundromat. Now this is a regular native English word if you're not familiar. A laundromat is like a coin laundry place. So if you don't do your laundry at home with a washing machine or at the river or wherever you wash your clothes, you can take it to a place where they will either wash your clothes for you, or you can use a washing machine. You put coins in and wash it that way. Now there's the basic business in that local area. So let's say I own a laundromat and I have this local business. Now I can only realistically help a certain number of people in that area. So I've only got a certain amount of hours in the day. I've only got a certain number of washing machines. And so even if, my laundromat was full every day for the whole day and every washing machine was being used, there's a specific limit that I can, make money or help people or whatever it is I want to do. So with the specific laundromat example, there's again a specific limit of the amount of money I can make versus the amount of time I use. So even if it's not something I'm physically doing, maybe I'm not washing the clothes, there are actually, specific limits to that, numbers of washing machines, hours in the day, etc. Again, I'm repeating myself because this is such an important thing to remember. Now, what's interesting, and this is, I'll give kind of a background about this as well, but the reason I do what I do is because there's no limit to the amount of people I can help. I guess maybe, if you think about billions of people in the world, there's an actual limit of number of people, but, I don't really worry about that. I'm really talking about the bigger difference between what you have in a local area, the number of people that could physically come or that you could physically help, and then there's the whole other area, which is the entire world. And what's really interesting nowadays is that the people that could be your audience, so maybe you teach guitar or you teach whatever, or even if you're not a teacher, I mean, you could be a bartender, you could be a lawyer, you could be whatever, but the people that could potentially be using your services are all over the place. So maybe some of them are in Africa or Europe or maybe Antarctica. There's people that need legal services in Antarctica, I don't know. But anyway, the people that are living down there, even though they can't go directly to your shop or your store, your area, your specific physical area, especially if you have a physical store or a physical place where you do business, you can still connect with these people because all of them, or at least, there's a growing number of people that can now use the internet to connect with people. So I want everybody really to think about this now from kind of a historical perspective. This might get a little bit complicated. I'll try to keep it very simple. But many, many years ago, everyone had their own business. So if you don't, it doesn't mean like your own corporation or something, but you would have a guy in the community that made shoes and maybe a woman that makes dresses, and then you'd have a baker and, other things like that. So you have lots of different people individually creating something in the community and then trying to sell that to other people. So that was many, many years ago. Now, with the Industrial Revolution, we got a few people that are creating companies, and they're also creating jobs for those people to do. So we're getting fewer people working by themselves or having their own business. And again, I'm being very kind of general about this and being very quick with the explanation. But basically, you have lots of people that are working for themselves, and then we move into more people working for other people. So we have a community or a culture of entrepreneurs in the past, and now we have more of a kind of a community or a culture of people that are employees. But what's happening now is that we're seeing the trend moving back. And it's really important as we're getting to that, because number one, we're able to actually connect with more people. So I can individually connect with people, and I can sell and do business with other people around the world without having a company really to stand in the middle of that. So I don't need to, put my product on Amazon. I can literally sell it directly to people, or, something like that. So these big companies are still around, but what you're seeing now, and what you will continue to see more, is that people will start creating their own businesses. So more people will begin going into that, and it's actually becoming much easier to do that. So it's a trend that's happening now. And, let's say I was running for president, I would not talk about how we can create more jobs. I would talk about how we can actually have more entrepreneurs, because really it's now that time. We're getting back to that time in history. And when you empower people, let's say you have a whole community with many people each having their own job, that's much better than having, a company like something like General Motors in Detroit, where you have, one business or one organization that basically dominates an entire community. And if that business fails or something goes wrong with it, then everything else in the community fractures. Everything is destroyed in the process. But kind of like a spider web, if you've got lots of different pieces and lots of people connected to one another, if one or two businesses fail, the community is still very strong. So there's always an opportunity if lots of people are learning about business, and a lot of people are, able to connect with each other directly to do business and to trade and other things like that, then you have a much stronger opportunity to make the community stronger, and then actually to be able to suffer through problems a lot more easily. So anyway, just talking about that idea, getting back to this, we're talking about the laundromat or whatever else the business happens to be. There's the local opportunity, and then there's the global opportunity connected with that one. So the local one is really, it's basically limited. But when you use talk about the education aspect of what you do, it's unlimited, basically. I mean, you could, again, there's maybe like a certain number. You couldn't teach like infinitely, like people all over the place, or maybe you could, but there's, whatever. But basically, there's a much larger market for the people that you're teaching throughout the world, and you're able to reach people in different places. So not just the people locally. Now, what this means, like, let's say instead of teaching English or helping people learn and become fluent English speakers, I was doing something like I was a bartender. Now, the local thing I'm doing is serving drinks to people, but the real education aspect of that is it could be, well, depending on who my customers are. And this is maybe, I'll make a separate video to talk about this a bit more specifically. But when you think about like who your actual customers are, you've got a couple of different groups. The first one is the people that you directly sell to. Those are the kind of the obvious customers. Like if I have a bar or if I have a laundromat, the people that are my actual customers are the people that come in to wash their clothes or to get a drink. But this is only one form of customer. I could also have customers that are my competitors. So somebody else that has a laundromat down the street or in a different town or something like that, these are my competitors. But as soon as I position myself as an educator, I've already kind of elevated myself above them, because I'm by definition a teacher who has respect and is able to teach these other laundromats how to do things as well. So really there's lots of different opportunities to do that. You also have a customer as yourself. So whenever you're creating new ideas that can save you money, other things like that, by saving yourself money, you've created kind of a customer for yourself, and then you're able to also take those ideas that are beneficial to you and sell them to other people that are also your competitors. Now, a lot of people get a little bit nervous about this and think like, well, I don't really want to help my competitors, or it gets very competitive, that kind of thing. But really you want to support those other people. And the reason you do that is because it makes your own industry stronger. So the same thing for me. I like to tell students about other interesting teachers or other interesting people that do what I do, because they also complement what I do. So I can't teach everything. I don't really focus on, helping people pass tests or do, other specific things like that. What I really do is help people move from not being able to speak confidently to being able to speak confidently. So this is a very specific thing that I focus on, and we'll maybe move into more things as we continue to grow as a company, but basically I'm working on one particular thing. So the more people in my network of other teachers that I can work with, these are people that, I can help them and direct people that want to learn about taking tests to them, and other people that want to learn about other things to various other places. But anyway, so getting back to that laundry example or the bar example, as soon as I become a teacher at that thing, and it doesn't matter what it is you do, it could be like, again, the bar example, the laundromat, I'm a baker. Now as a baker, my regular customers are the people that, they come in every day and they buy a loaf of bread. But maybe I could also be teaching those people directly. So my education part is like making videos on YouTube about how to make a specific kind of bread, or how to make the best cinnamon rolls in the world, or something like that. So I could be teaching those people, and that video or that product, whatever it is I'm doing, it could be just free content, but anything I'm doing, it serves two functions. The first one is that it's positioning myself as an educator, and by teaching other people, I'm automatically raised above the level of everybody else that's just doing that thing. So if there are 5 different bakers in the community, but I'm the only one that's actually teaching other people, people assume because I'm teaching that I'm better, because I know what I'm talking about and I'm happy to teach it. Now maybe I'm not actually the best baker or something like that, but by teaching it, I begin to get better at what I do, and I develop a reputation for that thing. And now, so the other thing is that you're really making I guess the best way to put it is you're connecting with different groups of customers that are not directly around you. So there's lots of great reasons to do that. And anybody that's getting into what's called content marketing, this is where you're really starting to connect with people and explain what you do by helping people and teaching people. So and this is kind of a marketing thing too. There's one of the interesting things about marketing is that you always have to be different. So people will take one idea like teaching and, okay, we're going to call it content marketing, or we're going to call it education-based marketing, or we're going to do something else. But really, these are individual marketers that have to create a different name for what that is to try to, create like an interesting new niche, even though it's basically the same thing. But what these people are all saying is that if you teach people, that's really reaching more people, but it's also positioning yourself as better than everybody else in the community and everybody else that does that thing. So again, we've got these 5 bakeries, and maybe they all produce really great bread, but the only one that's different, the one that's teaching, becomes elevated above all the rest. So when you're thinking about, teaching people, whatever it is your business happens to be, now we're getting into the time in history where we really can reach a greater audience, and we can deal directly with them. We can sell individual ideas, and much bigger than the local business opportunity that you have, the actual educational opportunity that you have is just, it's just infinitely better. So I actually don't do the local aspect of the business. The only thing I do have is the global one. So you could do one or the other, but I really recommend, especially if you already have a business, like let's say you're a massage therapist, or you're a veterinarian, or whatever, you have a physical store in a physical area. When you teach people, you develop a reputation that also boosts, your impression, or the impression that people have of you in that local community, but worldwide as well. So anybody that's looking for, how do I, if I'm looking for maybe fixing my pet dog, they've got a problem or something, I'm looking online for information, and I see, oh, like this veterinarian is doing videos that help people learn about, how to cure their dog or whatever that thing is. And that person immediately becomes someone that is like highly respected in my view. So it's not just a regular veterinarian, this is a teacher veterinarian. So someone that's actually taking the information they have and then they're positioning themselves in a higher way. Now, as educators, like pretty much anybody that does what I do, and they also are like kind of teaching things online, we're kind of like, having a better reputation than just, anybody normally, because we're teachers in general. But if everybody else that isn't necessarily a teacher, so you don't think of a baker as being a teacher, or certainly somebody that owns a laundromat, you don't think of that person as being a teacher, but the more you can think about about being a teacher and how you can educate the different real groups of customers that you have. Again, like we've got the customers that are directly using our services, or we've got our competitors. How can we create something that they can also use? So like, just like me, like right now, a perfect example of that is I am an English teacher, or I actually am an English fluency guide, but just to make it simple, I'm an English teacher. But so what I do is that I'm teaching or helping people learn. Those are the direct people that are actually buying my services. So maybe you're a native speaker and you're watching this video right now just to learn more about business. So one part of what I do is that I'm actually helping people in my direct market, the obvious customers. But if I go like laterally like this, there are other people that are also teaching. So I can also create a business within my business where I'm helping those other people also learn how to teach. And some people do that. So some people who are teachers are also trying to have businesses where they can help other teachers become better at what they do. So again, they're expanding their business by thinking about who really is a customer. So again, you've got the obvious customers, lateral customers. These are the other people in your particular market. And then you've got yourself. You've actually got, again, when you improve things, you design something that makes your business run more efficiently, that improves yourself. But again, you can also sell that to other people. So there's lots of different things. But it all begins with education. And really that's the simplest way to take your local thing, whatever it is that you happen to do, and then expand that into a larger market. Now there's a lot more we could get into about this particular topic, but I just wanted to really impress that upon people that from now, so right now it is like October, about to be October 2015, but you will see that like people talk about the global economy. People really worry about that because, we got all these large companies that if something bad happens to them, then the whole community that's supporting that is in a lot of trouble. But instead of waiting for those companies to get better, like I'm not worried about the economy at all because I know how to sell and I know how to help people. And the more people that you have that are able to do that, the less you're worried about money because you see opportunities to make money all over the place. And really all that is, it's just helping people. It's the same thing. So I'm not in the business of making money. I'm in the business of helping people improve their English and other things like that. And because I do that, people are happy to pay me money because I do a really good job at what I do. Now, anybody can do that. And again, this is really the time in history to start doing that. So if you have more specific questions about that, you can post them in the comments. Maybe I can talk more about that again. But the most important thing for this video, the thing I really want you to keep in mind to remember is that you really have two businesses. You've got the local play that's basically limited, whatever that is, and then you have the educational part of what it is you do. Now, you could be just starting a new business and you don't bother to do the local part of that at all, like me. So I don't have a local school that I use to teach. My whole school, it's all online. I don't really have even a school at all. I'm mobile. I can take my computer and work anywhere. I've got this camera and I just set it up, and you can see even from the quality of what I'm making right now. I mean, it's okay. I have like a pretty decent microphone and a pretty well working camera. You can see my beautiful face pretty well, but I don't have like a beautiful green screen behind me. People are looking for information, and that's why the information part of what you do, again, I'm just telling you this again and again because it's so important. The people that begin doing this now are going to be in a much stronger position as the economy continues to change, because this is where the economy is going. We're going away from having large companies. They'll still be there, but more people individually will start to see the real benefit of having, like an education kind of business where they're actually helping people do something. And again, it doesn't matter what it is, and you don't have to change anything about what you do for the local part of that. But if you begin teaching people what it is you do, that also helps the local aspect of your business. Again, I'm like, let's say I'm a gardener. So I came to Japan to learn about gardening. Now I could just have my own specific gardening business. Maybe I live in Chicago and I could work on maybe 2 gardens a week. But if I go home and make some videos that actually teach people, then I've got the education aspect. I could sell videos to people where I'm teaching people how to prune their own bushes, because, there are basically 2 different groups of people that are going to be your customers in each of these groups. So you've got the people that are willing to spend time and the people that are willing to spend money. So not everybody that watches my videos purchases my courses, and that makes sense. So we make, you know, some money from YouTube revenue from people that will never ever purchase anything from us ever, and that's just fine. That's how it works. But we know there are a lot of people that they're ready to spend money to save time because they appreciate that, and that's, you know, the people that we end up selling to. So the more people you can reach in each of these, like your actual customers and the lateral customers. And obviously, you know, when you're helping other businesses learn, it's a lot easier to say, hey, like if I can sell you this product, it's going to save you a lot of time or money, and businesses appreciate that and they can understand that and they're willing to spend more money on something like that. But that's a different video. Anyway, again, the really important thing I want you to remember from this is that the real important part of your business is not the physical business, especially if you have one. It's the educational aspect where you're able to teach what it is you do to these different groups of people. And the more you teach, the more you elevate yourself in the market and become the person or the group or the company or whatever that people respect, and that's the company that really gets all the sales. So that's how everybody works like that. So you've got the number one company in this area or the number one company within this niche or something like that, and that's all the, you know, it's like the same search things in Google. Like you've got the first the number one search thing that comes up gets most of the clicks, and then maybe number two gets, you know, some of the clicks but not many, and then it goes down. Like if your website is on page 10 of Google, then you're probably not going to get very many clicks from Google. But anyway, it's the same situation for all of these things. So you've got, you know, trying to be number one at whatever it is you do. It's a lot easier to do that if you can also teach. So it doesn't cost you any money. You can get a camera like this and you can just begin teaching people, begin helping people and figuring out, you know, what it is they want to learn. And so that's the second part of this video, which is before you actually think about creating any courses, or if you're a person especially that, you know, has your business or has no business and you really want to think about how you can start getting into business, the first thing you want to do is understand whatever market that is. And you probably have a good idea about that market. For me, I really just enjoy teaching, and so that's why I like teaching. And English is something that it's a really big problem. So that's really why I wanted to tackle English. And so there are other things I could teach that I know about, like gardening, for example. I could teach about that. But for English, it's you know, I have big plans for English and helping people learn the English language. And that's why what I created is called English Anyone, because I want to help anybody learn the language. So whatever your reason is, you know, it could be something that you're interested in because you do it already, or something that, you know, whatever that is. But however you teach, and you don't even need to sit in front of a camera like me. You know, I'm not the most amazing looking guy, but, you know, again, I'm just sitting here. You can't see it right now, but because I'm in my room and it's hot, I only have underwear on. I'm not going to show you though. I'm not going to show you, but the point is I'm really just sitting here in a t-shirt and underwear, and I'm doing this video. Isn't that amazing? But it doesn't matter, because the information is more important than how you look or even like the real presentation. So as long as the information is good and people are looking for that kind of information, just like people are, you know, like yourself, you're maybe a regular native speaker or not, but you want to learn how to improve your business, you're not really caring if I wear pants or not. You just want to know if the information I have is going to be helpful. And it is if you listen carefully. So before you think about, you know, whatever product or anything like that, you don't want to think about any product information until you do your market intelligence. And all this means is that you're connecting with the people in your market. So don't make the same mistake I did, where you like sit down and try to create something, or you spend a lot of time doing that. Don't do that at all. You really want to do is get directly to the market, and it could be a physical thing. This is really great if you have a physical store. Really begin talking to the people that come into your store. Like if you're the massage therapist, you know, people come in like, what problems do you have and what could I help you with? And then just listen. That's all you got to do. You listen to people and then begin to collect that information. Now, if you're online, you're just wanting to, you know, get that information for the first time, the best thing you can do is you can create, just start collecting an email address from people. And there are lots of ways you can do that. I don't really want to make a technical video about how you can do that, because there are different ways. But one fantastic cheap way that I actually use is combining a survey with being able to collect email addresses. And all I do with that is I just use Google, and I can create you know, the same way I'd use like MailChimp or, you know, any other email collection things, but you can just use, it's in Google, I think it's called Google Apps or Google for Business, whatever it is, but or Google Drive, that's it. So if you have a Google account or you don't, but you want to create one, you can easily go into that, and I recommend you can search online for how to make surveys with that. But all you're really doing is you're making, hey, I'm going to make a survey for people that I just have a link. So before you even have a website, even if you don't have a website, you don't need a website at all. Don't spend any time creating a website before you learn anything about your market, unless you already know your market very well. So all you need is a way to collect information from people and store that information, and Google will do that for you for free. So if you're starting to do that, you can again like just use Google Drive, create a survey with maybe 2 or 3 questions. Hey, my name is such and such. I'm trying to learn more about you so I can help improve your life in that specific area. So in my case, I'm asking lots of questions about people because it's my job to learn about that. As an English fluency guide, I can't guide people to fluency if I don't understand, what's wrong with them, what their problems are. Now, I have a pretty good idea because I've been doing this for a long time, but it's really important to me that I'm always continuing to learn. So I'm continuing to think about things because maybe every month or every year or whatever, I usually have some really important insight that helps me, improve my business in some way because I've learned to help people in a more effective way. And you don't learn how to do that unless you ask people. So again, before you think about producing any products or doing anything else, just get a lot of market intelligence. So begin, like again, if you've got a physical store, or if you don't have one, you're just starting to get email addresses from people. You would set up this this thing to collect email addresses and say, hey, like I'm learning about this. What's your #1 problem for whatever that thing happens to be, or what do you really want to do, whatever that thing is. But basically, you're asking what the problem is, because the better you can solve the problem. You have to forgive me, the train is coming. But anyway, the best thing you can do is figure out how to solve the problem people have. Oh no, I hate this train. I really do. But all right, anyway. So you're again asking people what their #1 problem is and seeing if you can solve that. And then you don't need a website to do that. But you can take that information and you can go directly to people online, because there are basically forums everywhere for people, whatever that happens to be. It could be learning how to play the guitar, or learning about massage, or building a business, or anything. And you could go there and say, hey, I'm such and such. I'm like an expert in this, and or at least like I want to learn more about this, that I can help you. Here's a link to my survey. If you want to go there and just tell me what your #1 problem is, I can get back to you, and you can just begin having questions with people. And the more people you begin learning about and helping, and as you start growing that information, you ask them what their #1 problem is, and then you have them leave their email address, then you can begin to contact these people. And anytime you have something new and interesting to share with them, you can send them an email to ask them questions. And that's how you begin doing it. So again, the 2 important things I'd like you to remember from this video is, #1, that the real business opportunity, the real opportunity to help people, is not the local business that you have. Sure, that's nice and it's great in the community, whatever that thing is, but if you're really talking about serving a lot of people, if that's important to you, as it is for me, I'd much rather teach a billion people than just teach 30 kids in a classroom. So if you're like me and you want to help a lot more people and have a much larger business, the only way to do that is to have the educational play where you're being able to sell products or do other things. And there's lots of really interesting things you can do as you start growing a list of customers, but that list of customers is going to be much more important than any information you think you know already. So whatever it is you think you know about your market, begin asking people and start learning more. So those 2 things, remember, again, I'm going to reiterate this. I'm going to say this again and again because it's such an important thing. Right now, in 2015, we're almost getting to the end of it. We're really moving to the point where we have the opportunity for individual people to connect, for you to sell your own music, sell your own ideas, anything digital, all of that information, and all of the things you can do. That's, instead of having just a local business, you've got the global one. And individually, you can run a business like that and make quite a bit of money and help a whole bunch of people just doing that. So if you've got that, and then you begin collecting that market intelligence by just using a free tool like Google or other things. I know like MailChimp is another one that you can start with them for free, I believe. But always look for the free, like cheap service if you can when you're just getting started. You can begin thinking about paying for services when you're actually making money, but you should be able to make money before you're actually spending much money on it. Because again, and we can talk about this in future videos, you should be able to sell your product to people before it's made. And the way to do that is if you have a lot of market intelligence, you're communicating with people and building trust with them. You don't build a product until you've got money from people that really are looking for that product. So if you have a good idea for a product and you say, well, would you purchase that product? And maybe they say, yeah, I would purchase that. Like, never ask people if they would purchase something for you. Just say, hey, here's a PayPal button and you can do this for free. It doesn't cost you anything to collect money from people on PayPal. So you got Google for free, PayPal for free. Hey, I've created this really interesting product, or I'm thinking about creating something, and I'd be happy to give you a discount if you purchase it now. So when I create the product, you can get it. Maybe it'll take a little bit while to get there, but you can help produce it with me. But it's also something that you would be able to get a discount on. So if you can do that, that's again you're producing a business before you have anything like a business name or a business website or any of these other things. Again, I don't want to give you too much information, but just remember these two important things. We're at the time right now where it's so important, especially if whether you have a business already or not, to begin thinking about education and how you can help other people by just teaching about the things you do. And it could be to your direct customers or indirect customers or to yourself, that kind of thing. But then begin collecting that market intelligence using something like a Google Doc or a Google form or whatever they call it. Again, like the technical aspect of it is not that important. You don't need to know any website coding how to do that. It's just, hey, here's a survey. Please tell me what your problem is. What's your email address? And there you go. And then you start collecting information without having any kind of information like that at all. And it's actually nice when you have a small list at first, because you can begin talking with people individually and they become your first customers, such that you can start growing and actually be able to teach a lot more people. Well, that's it for the business of teaching, this first episode. Hopefully you've been enjoying this. Maybe it's been boring for you. Maybe I'll continue to do this. Maybe I won't. But hopefully if you've got more questions and you're interested in how to get started doing like this, I hope I've inspired you to think about different ways where even if you have a business, how you can really begin expanding it, not by trying to build more stores or anything, but really by developing the reputation you have by educating people. Well, that's it for this episode, and I look forward to seeing your comments below if you have specific questions about this, or if you're a business owner or potential business owner and you have other questions, there are things you'd like to learn about, but I'd be happy to help you. So you can feel free also to email me at info@englishanyone.com if you've got more questions, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.